Bikini Bottom sparkled under the morning sun, its coral houses glowing like a rainbow caught in the ocean's arms. SpongeBob SquarePants bounced out of his pineapple home, his square grin wide as ever. Today felt perfect for flipping Krabby Patties and blowing bubbles with his best pal, Patrick. He grabbed his trusty bubble wand, dipped it in soapy water, and puffed out a big, wobbly bubble. Or at least, he tried. Nothing came out. Not a single shimmer. SpongeBob blinked, tilted his head, and tried again. Still nothing. That's odd, he thought, scratching his spongy chin. Bubbles always floated through Bikini Bottom, popping with tiny giggles that made everyone smile. He looked around. The streets were quiet. Too quiet. No bubbles danced above the jellyfish nets or tickled the roofs of the Krusty Krab. Even the air felt heavy, like a soggy sponge left out to dry. SpongeBob called out, "Patrick! Patrick Star! Come quick! Something's fishy!" A pink sea star waddled from his rock house, rubbing sleepy eyes. "What's up, SpongeBob?" he mumbled, a piece of kelp stuck to his cheek. SpongeBob waved his empty bubble wand. "The bubbles, Patrick! They're gone. All of them. Look!" He blew hard into the wand, his cheeks puffing like balloons, but only a sad puff of air escaped. Patrick squinted at the wand, then at the sky. "Huh! No bubbles. That's boring." He plopped onto the sand, frowning. Bikini Bottom without bubbles is like a Krabby Patty without ketchup. SpongeBob nodded, his heart sinking. Bubbles weren't just fun. They were the spark that made mornings brighter, the little pops that turned a dull day into a party. Without them, Bikini Bottom felt like a song with no tune. "We can't let this happen, Patrick," SpongeBob said, standing tall. "We've got to find out who took the bubbles and bring them back." Patrick's eyes widened. "A mystery? Like in those detective shows? Count me in, buddy." He leaped up, accidentally bunking SpongeBob's head. The two giggled, their laughter echoing through the quiet streets. For a moment, the heaviness lifted, but SpongeBob knew they had work to do. First, they checked the Krusty Krab. Maybe Mr. Krabs had seen something. Inside, the restaurant was oddly still. No customers blew bubble rings while waiting for their patties. Mr. Krabs stood at the register, counting pennies with a scowl. "SpongeBob!" he barked. "Why's everyone so glum? Where's the bubble blowing, patty ordering cheer?" SpongeBob explained the missing bubbles, and Mr. Krabs clutched his claws. "No bubbles? That's bad for business. You two better fix this, or I'll dock your pay." Next, they visited Squidward's tiki house. The grumpy octopus was painting a self-portrait, muttering about peace and quiet. "Squidward," SpongeBob whispered, poking his head through the window. "Have you seen any bubbles today?" Squidward rolled his eyes. "Bubbles? I'm thrilled they're gone. No more annoying pops while I create art. Now shoo!" He slammed the window, but SpongeBob caught a flicker of worry in his frown. Even Squidward missed the bubbles, deep down. With no leads, SpongeBob and Patrick headed to Jellyfish Fields, where bubbles usually floated like tiny clouds. The fields were silent, the jellyfish drifting lazily without their bubbly friends. SpongeBob's shoulders slumped. "Patrick, what if the bubbles are gone forever?" he whispered. Patrick patted his back, leaving a sandy smudge. "Don't worry, SpongeBob. We'll find them. We're the best bubble detectives in the ocean. As they wandered deeper, a faint glow caught SpongeBob's eye. There, tangled in a jellyfish net, was a strange, sparkling web. It shimmered like a bubble but didn't pop. SpongeBob reached out, curious, when a soft hum filled the air. A jellyfish, glowing brighter than the rest, floated closer. Her tentacles sparkled, and her eyes seemed kind, almost wise. "Hello, little ones," she said, her voice like a gentle wave. "I'm Lila. I see you're looking for the bubbles." SpongeBob gasped. "Lila, do you know where they went?" Lila's glow flickered, and she glanced away. "I might. But it's not safe to talk here. Follow me." She drifted toward a path lined with glowing coral, her light beckoning them forward. Patrick nudged SpongeBob. "She's nice, but kinda mysterious, huh?" SpongeBob nodded, his heart racing. Something about Lila felt important, like she held a piece of the puzzle. They followed her through jellyfish fields, the coral path twisting into a maze of shadows and sparkles. The web in the net nagged at SpongeBob's mind. It wasn't normal. Had someone set a trap for Bubbles? And why was Lila so nervous? Her glow dimmed every time he asked about the bubbles, and her answers were vague. "I'll explain soon," she kept saying. "Just trust me." The path opened to a towering coral arch, its surface carved with swirls that looked like ancient bubbles. Lila stopped, her tentacles trembling. "This is the way to the coral maze," she said. "The answers you seek are inside. But be careful. Not everything is as it seems." SpongeBob gulped, peering into the maze's dark entrance. The air hummed with secrets, and the web sparkle flashed in his memory. Was Lila leading them to the truth or into trouble? Patrick grabbed SpongeBob's hand. "Ready, buddy?" he asked, his grin shaky but brave. SpongeBob squeezed back, his determination flaring. "Ready, Patrick. Let's save the bubbles." They stepped toward the maze, Lila's glow lighting the way. But as they crossed the arch, a faint laugh echoed behind them, sharp and sly. SpongeBob spun around, but no one was there. His sponge heart thumped. Someone was watching. Someone who didn't want the bubbles found. What was that laugh? And what secrets hid in the coral maze? SpongeBob didn't know, but he was sure of one thing: this adventure was just beginning, and Bikini Bottom's bubbles needed him more than ever. The coral maze loomed before SpongeBob, Patrick, and Lila, its twisting arches glowing faintly under the ocean's soft light. The air buzzed with a strange hum, like the whisper of a secret waiting to be told. SpongeBob clutched his bubble wand, his heart thumping like a jellyfish dance. The sly laugh they'd heard at the maze's entrance still echoed in his mind, but he pushed the worry aside. Bikini Bottom needed its bubbles, and this maze held answers. He hoped. Lila floated ahead, her jellyfish glow casting flickers on the coral walls. "Stay close," she said, her voice gentle but tight. "This maze likes to play tricks." SpongeBob nodded, glancing at Patrick, who was poking a coral branch like it might sprout candy. "Patrick, come on. We've got a mystery to solve," SpongeBob called. Patrick grinned, waddling over. "Right, SpongeBob. Let's find those bubbles and maybe some snacks." The trio stepped into the maze, the coral arches curling above like giant, frozen waves. The path split into 3 tunnels, each shimmering with a different hue: blue, pink, and green. SpongeBob scratched his head. "Which way, Lila?" he asked. Lila's tentacles twitched, and her glow dimmed for a moment. I'm not sure, she admitted. The maze changes every time. But I feel something pulling us toward the blue path. SpongeBob trusted her, but her hesitation made his sponge pores tingle. Was she hiding something? They chose the blue tunnel, its walls sparkling like a starry night. The hum grew louder, vibrating through SpongeBob's squishy body. He felt like they were being watched, but every time he turned, only shadows danced behind them. Patrick hummed a silly tune, his flippers brushing the walls. Hey, SpongeBob, think these corals are ticklish? He poked one, and a puff of glittery dust burst out, making him sneeze. Achoo! Nope, not ticklish. Just dusty. SpongeBob giggled, but his laugh faded as the tunnel narrowed. The walls closed in, and sharp coral spikes poked out, glinting like tiny teeth. Lila stopped, her glow flickering. Careful, she warned. The maze tests those who enter. Stay sharp. SpongeBob gulped, his eyes wide. Tests? What kind of tests? Lila didn't answer, floating forward slowly. SpongeBob grabbed Patrick's hand, and they tiptoed behind her, dodging the spikes. The path twisted into a wide chamber, where the coral formed a glowing circle. In the center sat a strange puzzle, a stone tablet carved with bubble shapes, each a different size. Some glowed, some didn't. SpongeBob's eyes lit up. A puzzle. I love puzzles. He bounced closer, studying the tablet. Maybe this tells us where the bubbles went. Lila nodded, but her tentacles curled nervously. Solve it quickly, she urged. The maze doesn't like waiting. SpongeBob and Patrick huddled over the tablet. The glowing bubbles seemed to pulse, like they were alive. SpongeBob pressed one, and it sank with a soft click. Cool! He cheered. But then, a loud rumble shook the chamber. The coral walls shifted, and more spikes slid out, blocking the exit. Patrick yelped, hugging SpongeBob. Oh! Did we break it? SpongeBob's heart raced, but he forced a smile. It's okay, Patrick. We just need to figure out the pattern. They tried pressing different bubbles, but each wrong move made the spikes creep closer. SpongeBob's confidence wobbled. What if they were stuck forever? Then Patrick, munching on a piece of seaweed he'd found, pointed at the tablet. Hey, SpongeBob, look! The glowing bubbles are shaped like my favorite snacks. Big, small, round, wiggly. SpongeBob blinked. Patrick, you're a genius. Maybe it's a sequence, like a bubble dance. They pressed the bubbles in order of size, from smallest to biggest. With each press, the tablet hummed louder, and the spikes pulled back. On the final bubble, a loud clunk echoed, and the tablet slid open, revealing a hidden path. A rolled-up map, etched on a shimmering seashell, lay inside. SpongeBob unrolled it, his eyes sparkling. A map! This must lead to the bubbles. Lila's glow brightened, but she stayed quiet, her eyes darting to the shadows. As they grabbed the map, a soft scuttle echoed behind them. SpongeBob spun around, catching a glimpse of a small figure darting into the coral. Hey! Who's there? He called, but the figure was gone. His sponge senses tingled. That wasn't the same laugh from before, but someone was definitely following them. Patrick frowned. SpongeBob, this maze is getting creepier than a clam with no shell. SpongeBob nodded, clutching the map. Let's keep moving. We're close to something big. The new path led to a fork, where a shy voice squeaked from the shadows. Hello? A tiny crab, no bigger than a Krabby Patty, peeked out. Her claws fidgeted, and her eyes were wide. I'm Coral, she whispered. I live in the maze. I saw you solve the puzzle. You're looking for the bubbles, right? SpongeBob beamed. Hi, Coral. Yup, we're bubble detectives. Want to help? Coral hesitated, then nodded. I know shortcuts. But the maze is tricky. Stick with me. Lila's glow flickered again, and she glanced at Coral warily. SpongeBob noticed but didn't push. Maybe Lila was just nervous about the maze. Or maybe she knew more than she was saying. Either way, Coral's shy smile felt honest, and her knowledge could help. Okay, Coral, lead the way, SpongeBob said, trying to sound braver than he felt. The group followed her into a narrow tunnel, the map glowing faintly in SpongeBob's hands. The tunnel walls shimmered with carvings of ancient fish, their eyes seeming to watch every step. SpongeBob unrolled the map again, squinting at its swirly lines. It showed a path to a place called the Sunken Library, marked with a bubble symbol. That's it, he whispered. The library must have answers about the bubbles. But the map also had a warning, etched in tiny letters, beware the one who hides in plain sight. SpongeBob shivered. Was it the laugher? The scuttler? Or someone closer? Coral paused at a glowing arch, her claws trembling. This is as far as I've ever gone, she admitted. The library's close, but strange things happen there. SpongeBob squeezed her claw gently. Don't worry, Coral. We're a team now. We'll face it together. She smiled, her shell blushing pink. Patrick burped, breaking the tension. Team Bubble. Let's go. He cheered, marching forward. But as they stepped through the arch, a sharp snap echoed. The coral floor cracked, and a net of glittering threads shot up, trapping them like fish in a jar. SpongeBob gasped, the map slipping from his hands. Lila's glow went dark, and Coral squeaked in fear. Patrick tugged at the net, but it wouldn't budge. SpongeBob! He yelled. This is a trap. SpongeBob's heart pounded. Someone had set this up. Someone who knew they were coming. In the shadows, a pair of sneaky eyes glinted, watching their every move. Who had trapped them? And would the map's secrets slip away before they could escape? Thank you for listening to these incredible stories. Our team would really appreciate it if you give us a like and comment. Your opinion is very important to us. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed. The glittering net shimmered around SpongeBob, Patrick, Lila, and Coral, its threads tight as a clam's grip. The coral maze's glow felt colder now, the air thick with the hum of secrets. SpongeBob's heart raced as he tugged at the net, his sponge fingers slipping on the slick strands. The seashell map lay just out of reach on the cracked coral floor, its bubble symbol taunting them. Someone had set this trap, and those sneaky eyes SpongeBob had glimpsed in the shadows were probably laughing now. SpongeBob! Patrick wailed, flopping against the net like a jellyfish in a jam. We're stuck. What do we do? Coral huddled close, her tiny claws trembling. I knew the maze was tricky, she whispered. I'm sorry I led us here. SpongeBob forced a smile, though his pores prickled with worry. It's not your fault, Coral. We're a team, and teams find a way out. He glanced at Lila, whose jellyfish glow was barely a flicker. Lila, any ideas? Lila's tentacles curled, and she murmured, the net's magic. We need something stronger to break it. SpongeBob's eyes darted to the map. That's it. The map might have a clue. He stretched his squishy arm through a gap in the net, his fingers brushing the seashell's edge. Come on, he grunted, stretching further until his arm wobbled like jelly. Got it. He yanked the map inside, unrolling it with a triumphant grin. The group crowded around, their faces lit by the map's faint glow. The path to the sunken library was clear, but the warning still chilled SpongeBob, beware the one who hides in plain sight. Patrick squinted at the map, scratching his head. SpongeBob, it's just lines and squiggles. How's this gonna free us? Coral peeked over, her eyes widening. Wait! Those squiggles look like the carvings on the walls. She pointed to the tunnel's coral, where ancient fish shapes swirled in patterns. SpongeBob's grin returned. Coral, you're a genius. Maybe the carvings are a code to unlock the net. They studied the walls, the fish carvings gleaming under Lila's dim light. Each fish held a tiny bubble shape, some big, some small, some glowing. It's like the puzzle in the chamber, SpongeBob said, bouncing with excitement. We need to match the map's bubbles to the carvings. Coral nodded, her shyness fading as she traced a carving. This fish has a big bubble, like the one on the map's corner. Let's try it. SpongeBob pressed the carving, and a soft click echoed. The net loosened slightly, but not enough. Patrick poked another fish, one with a tiny bubble. Nope. He yelped as the net tightened, squeezing them closer. SpongeBob's heart sank, but Coral's voice stayed steady. It's a sequence, she said. Big bubble, then small, then glowing. Like the map's path. SpongeBob beamed. Coral, you're leading this mission now. Let's do it. Coral blushed, her shell turning pink, but she pointed to the next carving. SpongeBob pressed it, then Patrick, then Coral, following her lead. Each click made the net quiver, its threads sparkling less and less. On the final carving, a glowing fish with a wiggly bubble, the net burst apart in a shower of glitter. Free! Patrick cheered, twirling until he tripped over his own flippers. SpongeBob hugged Coral. You saved us, Coral. You're braver than a barnacle. Coral smiled, standing a bit taller. I just read the walls, she said softly. Lila's glow returned, brighter now, but her eyes darted to the tunnel's shadows. We must hurry, she urged. The sunken library is near, but the maze doesn't like visitors. SpongeBob nodded, clutching the map. Right. Let's find that library and get our bubbles back. But as they moved, a soft scuttle echoed again, closer this time. SpongeBob froze. Those sneaky eyes were back. He spun around, catching a glimpse of a small, spiky shape darting behind a coral archway. He called, but the figure vanished. Patrick frowned. SpongeBob, that's the third creepy thing today. First the laugh, then the trap, now a spiky shadow. SpongeBob's sponge senses tingled. Whoever it was, they knew the maze and didn't want the group reaching the library. But why? Was it the one who hides in plain sight? Lila floated faster, leading them through a tunnel that opened into a wide, glowing cavern. The sunken library stood before them, its walls made of stacked coral books, each shimmering like a pearl. Towers of seashells spiraled upward, and bubble-shaped lanterns floated above, though none popped. SpongeBob gasped. "It's beautiful. Like a castle for stories." Coral's eyes sparkled. "I've heard whispers about this place. It holds secrets older than the ocean." They stepped inside, the floor soft with mossy sand. Shelves towered around them, packed with shells carved with ancient tales. SpongeBob unrolled the map, its bubble symbol glowing brighter here. "The map says the answer's in a fish tail," he said. "Let's find it." They split up, Patrick flipping through shells and sneezing at the dust, Coral scanning low shelves, and Lila hovering near a glowing alcove. SpongeBob climbed a ladder, his fingers brushing a dusty shell with a bubble carving. "This is it," he called, pulling it down. The shell was heavy, its surface etched with a story about a bubble source, a magical spring that bubbled with joy. SpongeBob read aloud, his voice echoing. "Long ago, bubbles came from a hidden spring, guarded by the ocean's heart. But a shadow sought to steal its light, trapping the bubbles to dim the sea's joy." He paused, his heart thumping. "That's our thief. They're after the spring." Coral gasped, pointing to a line on the shell. "It says the spring's protected by guardians who glow." Lila's tentacles froze, and her glow flickered wildly. SpongeBob noticed, his smile fading. "Lila, do you know something about this?" Lila looked away, her voice barely a whisper. "I'll tell you soon." "Not here." SpongeBob wanted to ask more, but a loud creak interrupted them. A shelf wobbled, and a spiky figure darted across the library, knocking shells to the floor. "Hey! Stop!" SpongeBob shouted, chasing the figure. It was fast, its spiky tail glinting as it slipped through a crack in the wall. Patrick tripped over a shell, landing with a thud. "Oof! That guy's slipperier than a squid smoothie." Coral helped him up, her claws shaking. "That was no crab," she said. "Maybe a sea star, but sneaky." SpongeBob clutched the story shell, his mind racing. A sneaky sea star? Could it be the shadow from the tail? Lila floated to the crack, her glow steadying. "We can't follow now," she said. "But this shell is enough. It points to a meadow where the spring might be. Let's go." SpongeBob nodded, but his eyes lingered on the crack. The figure knew they'd found the tail. And Lila's secrecy was growing harder to ignore. Was she a guardian? Or something else? As they left the library, the bubble lanterns flickered, casting long shadows. SpongeBob held the shell tight, its words buzzing in his mind. The meadow was next, but so was the sneaky sea star. And what did the tale mean by a shadow? The answers were close, but so was danger. Would they reach the meadow before the thief struck again? The sunken library faded behind SpongeBob, Patrick, Lila, and Coral as they swam through the coral maze's twisting tunnels, the story shell tucked safely in SpongeBob's hands. Its tale of a magical bubble spring and a shadowy thief swirled in his mind, each word sparkling like a clue. The ocean's glow felt brighter now, but the sneaky sea star's spiky shadow lingered in SpongeBob's thoughts. Whoever they were, they didn't want the group finding the spring. And Lila's flickering glow wasn't helping his nerves. She knew more than she was saying, but SpongeBob trusted her. For now. Lila led the way, her jellyfish light guiding them toward the meadow mentioned in the tale. "Stay close," she said, her voice soft but sharp. "The maze is restless today." SpongeBob nodded, glancing at Patrick, who was blowing imaginary bubbles with his flippers. Patrick, focus. We're on a bubble-saving mission, SpongeBob said, nudging him. Patrick grinned. Right, SpongeBob. Saving bubbles and maybe finding a snack. Coral giggled, her claws clicking nervously. I hope the meadow's safe, she whispered. The tunnel opened into a wide path lined with glowing seaweed, swaying like dancers in the current. The hum of the maze softened, replaced by a faint, cheerful pop. SpongeBob's heart leaped. Did you hear that? A bubble. He spun around, but no bubbles floated nearby. His smile faded. Maybe it was just the ocean playing tricks. Lila's glow dimmed, and she floated faster. The meadow's close, she said. Keep moving. SpongeBob clutched the story shell tighter, its bubble carving warm against his spongy fingers. As they swam, a loud grumble echoed behind them. SpongeBob turned, his eyes wide. What was that? Patrick burped, then blushed. Oops. Not me this time. The grumble grew louder, and a familiar figure trudged into view, Squidward, his octopus arms crossed and his face sour. SpongeBob. Patrick. He snapped. What are you two doing in this creepy maze? You're disturbing my nap. SpongeBob bounced over. Squidward. The bubbles are gone. We're following a tail to find a magical spring. Join us. Squidward groaned, rubbing his eyes. Bubbles? I told you, I'm glad they're gone. No more annoying pops. But his frown softened as he noticed Coral's shy wave and Lila's flickering glow. Fine, he muttered. I'll tag along to make sure you don't wreck Bikini Bottom. But no funny business. SpongeBob cheered, hugging Squidward's leg. You're the best, Squidward. The octopus sighed, peeling him off. Let's just get this over with. The group reached a fork in the path, where the seaweed glowed brighter, pointing to a narrow tunnel. Lila hesitated, her tentacles curling. This leads to the meadow, she said. But something feels off. SpongeBob unrolled the story shell, reading aloud. The spring is guarded by joy, but a shadow tricks those who seek it. He paused, his pores tingling. A trick? Like the net? Coral's eyes widened. Or that sneaky sea star? Patrick nodded, puffing out his chest. If it's a trick, we'll outsmart it. Right, team? Before they could move, a sly voice echoed from the tunnel. Outsmart me? Good luck. A spiky sea star darted into view, his green skin glinting and his grin sharp. I'm Finn, fastest star in the ocean. Heard you're chasing bubbles. Too bad you're stuck with a grumpy squid and a shaky crab. Squidward bristled. Watch it, Spiky. Coral shrank back, but SpongeBob stepped forward. Finn, do you know where the bubbles went? Finn's eyes twinkled. Maybe. But you'll never catch me to find out. He zipped into the tunnel, laughing. SpongeBob's heart raced. After him. He swam forward, but Finn was too fast, vanishing into the shadows. The tunnel twisted into a dead end, its walls smooth and bubble-free. Patrick flopped onto the sand. Ah, SpongeBob, he got away. SpongeBob frowned, but Squidward squinted at the wall. Hold on, he said, tapping it. This isn't coral. It's painted to look like it. He pressed hard, and the wall slid open, revealing a hidden path. SpongeBob gasped. Squidward, You're a maze master. Squidward smirked. Just don't tell anyone. I have a reputation to keep. The path glowed with tiny bubble shapes, leading to a shimmering curtain of seaweed. Lila's glow flickered wildly. The meadows beyond this, she whispered. But Finn's tricks worry me. SpongeBob squeezed her tentacle. Don't worry, Lila. We've got Squidward now. Let's face that meadow together. They pushed through the seaweed, stepping into a dreamy meadow where jellyfish floated like lanterns, their glow soft and warm. The grass swayed, sprinkled with sparkles that looked like bubbles but didn't pop. SpongeBob's eyes sparkled. It's magical. Like a bubble party waiting to start. But the meadow was quiet, too quiet. The story shell's words echoed in his mind, a shadow tricks those who seek it. Was Finn the shadow? Or was something bigger hiding here? Coral pointed to a glowing pool in the meadow's center, its surface rippling with light. That must be the spring, she said, her voice braver now. SpongeBob swam closer, but Finn's laugh rang out again. Nice try, bubble hunters. He appeared by the pool, tossing a shiny stone that made the water bubble wildly, then cloud over. You'll never fix this spring, he taunted, darting behind a jellyfish. SpongeBob shouted, Finn, stop. But the sea star was gone, leaving the pool dark. SpongeBob's shoulders slumped. The spring looked sick, its light fading. Patrick patted his back. Don't give up, SpongeBob. We'll find that sneaky star. Squidward crossed his arms. He's just a pest. But this pool's trouble. It's like the bubbles are trapped inside. Lila floated closer, her glow almost gone. The spring needs joy, she said softly. Finn's stone blocked it. SpongeBob's eyes lit up. Then we'll unblock it. Right, team? Before they could plan, a soft clatter echoed. A small, shiny object fell from the jellyfish Finn had hidden behind. SpongeBob picked it up, a tiny shell with a bubble carving, just like the story shell. His heart thumped. This is a clue, he said. It's got a meadow symbol and a path to a glowing place. Coral gasped. Maybe it's where Finn's going. Squidward frowned. Or it's another trick. Either way, we're not staying here. Lila's tentacles trembled. That path leads to a dangerous place, she warned. A ship where bubbles are trapped. SpongeBob clutched the new shell, his determination flaring. Then that's where we're going. Finn knows something, and we're gonna find out what. But as they turned to leave, the meadow's glow dimmed, and a low hum shook the grass. Something was coming. Something that didn't want them to follow Finn. What was hiding in the meadow? And what secrets did Finn's shell hold? The bubbles were closer than ever, but so was the shadow. The meadow's glow pulsed softly, but the low hum shaking the grass sent shivers through SpongeBob's squishy pores. The tiny shell with its bubble carving felt heavy in his hand, its meadow symbol pointing to a mysterious ship where bubbles were trapped. Finn's sly laugh still echoed in his ears, and the darkened spring in the meadow's center looked sadder than a clam without a pearl. SpongeBob glanced at his friends, Patrick, munching on a stray piece of seaweed, Coral, clutching her claws, Squidward, frowning at the cloudy pool, and Lila, whose jellyfish glow flickered like a candle in a storm. They had to move, and fast. SpongeBob, Patrick called, spitting out seaweed, that hum's giving me the heebie-jeebies. What's coming? SpongeBob clutched the shell tighter. I don't know, Patrick, but Finn's clue leads to a ship. We've gotta follow it. Squidward crossed his arms, his nose wrinkling. A ship? Sounds like another one of your goofy adventures gone wrong. I should be napping right now. Coral stepped forward, her voice small but steady. The meadow's not safe anymore. I feel it too. Let's go, before whatever's humming finds us. Lila's tentacles curled, her glow dimming further. The ship is dangerous, she whispered. It's a place where bubbles get caught, like flies in a web. SpongeBob's heart thumped, but he forced a grin. Then we'll free them, Lila. Bubbles belong in Bikini Bottom, popping for everyone. Lila nodded, but her eyes darted to the spring, its ripples barely visible. SpongeBob wondered again what she wasn't telling them. Was she afraid of the ship, or something else? The hum grew louder, and the meadow's jellyfish lanterns bobbed nervously, their glows flickering. SpongeBob waved the shell. Come on, team. The path's this way. He led them toward a curtain of glowing seaweed at the meadow's edge, the shell's carving pulsing like a tiny heartbeat. As they pushed through, the hum faded, replaced by the gentle slosh of ocean currents. The path twisted into a dark tunnel, its walls speckled with sparkles that looked like trapped bubbles, frozen in place. Patrick poked one, his flipper bouncing off. Hey, SpongeBob, these bubbles don't pop. That's weird, right? SpongeBob nodded, his pores tingling. It's like they're stuck, just like Lila said. This ship must be close. Squidward grumbled, brushing seaweed off his tentacles. Wonderful. A creepy ship full of stuck bubbles. Why did I agree to this? Coral giggled, her shell blushing. Because you're secretly a hero, Squidward. He huffed, but a tiny smirk tugged at his lips. The tunnel opened into a wide, glowing clearing where jellyfish floated in slow circles, their light painting the water gold. The meadow stretched around them, more magical than before, with grass that sparkled like a starry sky. In the center stood a giant coral arch, carved with bubble shapes that pulsed faintly. The shell's path pointed straight to it. SpongeBob's eyes sparkled. That's the way to the ship. We're almost there. But as they approached, the arch shimmered, and a puzzle appeared, a grid of bubble carvings, some glowing, some dark, arranged in a swirling pattern. Lila's glow flickered wildly. It's a meadow lock, she said, her voice trembling. Only the right pattern opens the path. SpongeBob studied the grid, his sponge brain buzzing. It's like the maze puzzle. We need to light up the right bubbles. Patrick tilted his head. SpongeBob, it looks like my jellyfish dance moves. Swirl, pop, spin. SpongeBob laughed, his worry easing. Patrick, you're onto something. Let's try a pattern like a dance. He pressed a glowing bubble, then a dark one, mimicking a swirl. The arch hummed, but nothing happened. Coral pointed to the shell's carving. Look! The bubbles on the shell are in a spiral, small to big. SpongeBob nodded, his grin wide. Coral, you're a puzzle pro. Let's follow the spiral. They pressed the bubbles in order, starting with the smallest. Each touch made the arch glow brighter, and the jellyfish above danced faster, their hums like a cheerful song. But on the final bubble, a loud click echoed, and the grid flashed red. The ground shook, and glowing vines shot up, wrapping around the arch like a cage. Patrick yelped, hugging SpongeBob. SpongeBob! We broke it! Squidward groaned. Great! Now we're trapped again. Can't you two do anything right? SpongeBob's heart sank, but Coral's eyes stayed sharp. Wait, she said, pointing to a tiny carving on the arch. It's a jellyfish. Maybe we need to match its glow. Lila floated closer, her light barely there. She touched the carving, and her glow flared, syncing with the arch. The vines loosened, but Lila wobbled, her tentacles drooping. I can't hold it long, she gasped. Hurry! SpongeBob pressed the final bubble, and the arch burst open, revealing a path to a shadowy shipwreck in the distance. The group cheered, but Lila sank to the ground, her glow gone. SpongeBob knelt beside her. Lila, are you okay? She nodded weakly. The meadow took my strength. I'm tied to the bubbles, more than you know. Her words hung heavy, and SpongeBob's pores prickled. Tied to the bubbles? Was she the guardian from the tail? Before he could ask, Squidward scooped her up. Let's move before this place traps us again, he muttered, his grumpiness hiding a flicker of worry. They swam toward the ship, its jagged outline looming like a sleeping giant. The shell's glow faded, but a new sound filled the water, a faint, sad pop, like bubbles crying for help. SpongeBob's heart ached. We're coming, Bubbles, he whispered. Coral swam closer, her claws steady now. SpongeBob, what if Finn's waiting? He was at the spring. SpongeBob nodded, his determination flaring. Then we'll outsmart him, Coral. Together. As they neared the ship, a sharp laugh cut through the water. Finn's voice echoed from the wreck. You're persistent, Bubble Hunters. But you're swimming into my trap. A net of glowing threads shot up, blocking the ship's entrance. SpongeBob gasped, his eyes wide. Finn! He's one step ahead. Patrick frowned, puffing out his chest. Let's bust through, SpongeBob. Squidward sighed, holding Lila gently. Or we could think for once. That net looks like the maze's magic. Coral studied the net, her eyes narrowing. It's got bubble patterns, like the arch. Maybe it's another puzzle. SpongeBob grinned, his hope sparking. Coral, you're on fire. Let's solve it. But before they could start, a shadow moved inside the ship, bigger than Finn's spiky shape. The sad pops grew louder, and a message carved in the ship's hull caught SpongeBob's eye, beware the trap that holds the bubbles tight. His heart thumped. Finn wasn't alone. Someone, or something, was waiting inside. What was hiding in the ship? And could they solve the net's puzzle before Finn's trap snapped shut? The sunken ship loomed before SpongeBob, Patrick, Lila, Coral, and Squidward, its rusted hull glowing faintly under the ocean's dim light. The net of glittering threads blocked the entrance, its bubble patterns pulsing like a puzzle waiting to be solved. Finn's sharp laugh still rang in SpongeBob's ears, and the sad, muffled pops from inside the ship tugged at his heart. Those were Bikini Bottom's Bubbles, trapped and crying for freedom. The shadowy figure he'd glimpsed inside wasn't Finn, though. Something bigger was lurking, and the carved warning on the hull, beware the trap that holds the bubbles tight, made his sponge pores tingle. SpongeBob, Patrick whispered, hugging a piece of driftwood, that ship looks spookier than a ghost jellyfish. Are we really going in? SpongeBob forced a grin, though his knees wobbled. We have to, Patrick. The bubbles need us. He glanced at Lila, cradled in Squidward's arms, her jellyfish glow barely a flicker. Lila, can you help with the net? She shook her head weakly. It's strong magic, she murmured. You'll need to solve its pattern. I believe in you. Squidward groaned, shifting Lila's weight. Why am I stuck babysitting a jellyfish while you two fumble another puzzle? Coral stepped forward, her claws clicking with new confidence. It's like the meadow's lock, Squidward. See the bubble shapes? They match the shell's carving. She pointed to the tiny shell SpongeBob held, its meadow symbol glowing faintly. SpongeBob's eyes lit up. Coral, you're right. Let's crack this net open. The net's threads formed a grid of bubble carvings, some big, some small, some sparkling. SpongeBob studied the shell, its spiral pattern clear. It's a sequence, he said, just like the arch. Small to big, then a sparkly one. He pressed a small bubble on the net, and it hummed softly. Patrick poked a bigger one, grinning. Like stacking Krabby Patties. But the net flashed red, and the threads tightened, sparking with light. Patrick yelped, tripping backward. SpongeBob. It didn't like that. Coral's eyes narrowed, scanning the net. Wait, the sparkly bubbles are in pairs. Maybe it's small, big, then two sparkly ones. SpongeBob nodded, his hope flaring. Let's try it, Coral. They pressed the sequence carefully, small, big, sparkly, sparkly. The net hummed louder, its threads loosening, but a loud snap echoed from inside the ship. The bubbles' pops grew frantic, like a song out of tune. SpongeBob's heart sank. We're close, but something's wrong. Before they could try again, Finn's voice cut through the water. Nice try, Bubble Hunters. A spiky green sea star darted from the ship's shadows, tossing a glowing stone that made the net flare brighter. You're playing my game now, he taunted, zipping behind a rusted anchor. SpongeBob shouted, Finn. You know who's trapping the bubbles. Tell us. Finn's grin sharpened. Oh, I know. But my boss won't like you snooping. He vanished into the ship, his laugh fading. Squidward bristled, his tentacles flexing. Boss? That little pest works for someone? This is getting ridiculous. SpongeBob's mind raced. Finn's boss? Was that the shadow in the ship? He turned to the net, determination flaring. We're not letting Finn win. Coral, let's finish this puzzle. Coral nodded, pointing to a hidden bubble carving on the net's edge. It's a double sparkly one. Try it last. They pressed the sequence again, ending with the double sparkly bubble. The net burst apart in a shower of glitter, clearing the entrance. The group cheered, but the ship's dark interior loomed, its pops louder and sadder. SpongeBob led the way, his bubble wand raised like a torch. The hull was a maze of rusted beams and tangled nets, each sparkling with trapped bubbles that quivered but didn't pop. SpongeBob's heart ached. Hang on, Bubbles. We're here. Patrick tripped over a pipe, landing with a thud. Oof. SpongeBob, this place is creepier than a clam convention. They reached a wide chamber where bubbles floated in glowing cages, their pops muffled like whispers. In the center stood a strange machine, its gears grinding and spitting out threads that trapped more bubbles. Coral gasped, her claws trembling. It's stealing the bubbles. Squidward frowned, setting Lila down gently. That's no ordinary contraption. It's got magic written all over it. Lila's glow flickered, her voice faint. It's draining the spring's joy. We need to stop it. SpongeBob approached the machine, but a net shot from the floor, wrapping around his legs. He yelped, falling hard. More nets sprang up, snaring Patrick, Coral, and Squidward. Lila floated free, too weak to help. Finn's laugh echoed again, and he appeared on a beam above. "Told you it's my game," he crowed. "My boss loves bubbles, and this ship's their new home." SpongeBob struggled, his sponge heart pounding. "Finn, why are you doing this? Bubbles belong to everyone." Finn's grin faltered, but he shook it off. "You'll never understand." He tossed another stone, and the machine whirred louder, pulling bubbles faster. SpongeBob's eyes stung. The bubbles were fading, their sparkles dimming. He felt like giving up, but Patrick's voice broke through. "SpongeBob, remember our bubble parties? We can't let them go." Patrick wiggled in his net, his goofy smile bright. SpongeBob's hope sparked. "You're right, Patrick. Bubbles are joy, and joy's stronger than any trap." He stretched his squishy arm, reaching for a loose thread on his net. "Come on," he grunted, pulling until it snapped. The net loosened, and he freed himself, then Patrick, Coral, and Squidward. The group huddled, the machine's grind deafening. Coral pointed to a glowing lever on its side. "That must stop it." "But it's high up." SpongeBob grinned, his optimism flaring. "I've got this." He climbed the machine, dodging spinning gears, and grabbed the lever. With a mighty tug, he pulled it down. The machine screeched, then stopped, its threads falling limp. The bubble cages opened, and the bubbles floated free, their pops cheerful again. SpongeBob cheered, sliding down. "We did it." But Finn's voice cut through. "Not so fast." He stood by the chamber's exit, holding a glowing orb that pulsed like the spring. "My boss won't be happy, but I've got a backup plan." He darted out, the orb's light fading. SpongeBob's jaw dropped. "That orb. It's tied to the spring." Lila's glow flared briefly. "It's a piece of the spring's heart," she gasped. "If Finn takes it, the bubbles will fade again." SpongeBob clutched his wand, his determination blazing. "Then we're chasing him." But as they swam after Finn, a low rumble shook the ship. The shadowy figure moved again, its eyes glinting from a dark corner. A message carved in the wall caught SpongeBob's eye, "The thief's trap grows tighter." His heart thumped. Finn's boss was close, and the orb was slipping away. Could they catch Finn before the orb was lost? And who was the shadow watching their every move? The sunken ship's dark chambers echoed with the fading pops of freed bubbles as SpongeBob, Patrick, Lila, Coral, and Squidward raced after Finn. The spiky sea star's glowing orb, a piece of the bubble spring's heart, pulsed in his grasp as he darted through the ship's rusted hulls. SpongeBob's heart pounded, his sponge legs stretching to keep up. The shadowy figure's glint in the corner and the carved warning, "The thief's trap grows tighter," nagged at his mind. Finn's boss was close, and that orb was the key to saving Bikini Bottom's bubbles. "SpongeBob!" Patrick panted, tripping over a loose plank. "That Finn's faster than a jellyfish on a sugar rush. How do we catch him?" SpongeBob clutched his bubble wand, his eyes fixed on Finn's spiky tail. "We'll outsmart him, Patrick. He's got the orb, but we've got teamwork." Coral swam beside him, her claws steady despite her wide eyes. "He said he's working for someone," she whispered. "What if his boss is waiting?" Squidward, carrying a faint glowing Lila, grumbled. "Then we're swimming into another mess. I should have stayed home." Lila's voice was weak but urgent. The orb holds the spring's joy. If Finn's boss gets it, the bubbles will never return. SpongeBob's pores prickled. Lila's secrets were piling up, but there was no time to ask. The ship's hulls twisted into a narrow tunnel, its walls lined with trapped bubbles that flickered like dying stars. Finn's laugh echoed ahead. "You're too slow, bubble hunters. My boss will love this orb." SpongeBob shouted, "Finn! Stop! Those bubbles belong to everyone." The tunnel opened into a wide chamber, its floor littered with broken nets and glowing stones. Finn stood on a rusted crate, tossing the orb between his spiky arms. "Nice chase, but you're out of luck," he taunted. He pointed to a carved map on the wall, its bubble shapes glowing faintly. "This leads to my boss's hideout. Think you can follow?" He tossed a stone, and the map's glow twisted, its paths scrambling into a jumble. "Good luck with that." Finn zipped through a side tunnel, the orb's light fading. SpongeBob's shoulders slumped. "He tricked us again." Patrick flopped onto the floor, frowning. "SpongeBob, that map's messier than my rock house. How do we find him now?" Coral studied the scrambled map, her claws tapping. "It's a fake path," she said. "Finn's trying to throw us off." Squidward snorted, setting Lila down. "Obviously. That sea stars all talk and no brains. But this chamber's a dead end. We're stuck." Before SpongeBob could answer, a cheerful voice echoed from above. "Howdy, y'all. Need a hand?" A squirrel in a diving suit dropped from a hole in the ceiling, landing with a thud. "Sandy!" SpongeBob cheered, bouncing over. "You're here. The bubbles are gone, and Finn's got a magic orb, and we're chasing him, but he tricked us." Sandy tipped her helmet, grinning. "Sounds like a Texas-sized mystery. Let's wrangle that orb back. Got any clues?" SpongeBob showed her the tiny shell from the meadow, its bubble carving still glowing. "It points to a ship, and now a hideout. But Finn messed up the map." Sandy squinted at the wall, her tail twitching. "That's no problem for science." She pulled a glowing gadget from her suit, its screen buzzing. "This scanner reads magic traces. Let's see where Finn's stone left a trail." She waved it over the map, and a faint green path glowed through the jumble, leading to a hidden door. Patrick clapped, accidentally bunking Squidward. "Sandy's a genius." Squidward rubbed his head, muttering, "She's trouble, just like you two." Coral smiled, her shell blushing. "That door must go to the hideout." Lila's glow flickered, her voice soft. "Be careful. Finn's boss is cunning. The orb's power draws them." SpongeBob nodded, his determination flaring. "Then we'll get it first. Let's go, team." The hidden door creaked open, revealing a dark tunnel that sloped downward. The air grew colder, and the trapped bubbles on the walls dimmed, their pops silent. Sandy's scanner beeped, guiding them through twists and turns. SpongeBob's heart raced. Finn was close, but so was his boss. Was the shadowy figure from the ship following them? He glanced at Lila, her glow weaker than ever. She was hiding something about the orb, but her kind eyes kept his trust. The tunnel opened into a glowing cave, its walls pulsing with bubble shapes that shimmered but didn't pop. Finn stood in the center, the orb glowing brightly in his grasp. "Gotcha!" he crowed. "Thought you'd follow my fake map, but you're smarter than I figured." He tossed the orb up, catching it with a grin. My boss wants this, but maybe I'll keep it. Power's nice, right? SpongeBob stepped forward, his wand raised. Finn, give it back. That orb's for the bubbles, for joy. Finn's grin wavered, and for a moment, his eyes softened. Joy, huh? He shook his head, his spiky tail twitching. Too late for that. He threw a glowing stone, and the cave's floor rumbled. Nets shot up, but Sandy's gadget beeped wildly. Duck! She yelled, pushing everyone down as the nets missed. Finn gasped, then darted through a crack in the wall, the orb's light fading. SpongeBob shouted, Finn! But he was gone. Patrick sat up, rubbing his head. SpongeBob, he's slipperier than a soap bubble. Coral pointed to the crack. That's no ordinary exit. It's got bubble carvings, like a lock. Sandy scanned it, her gadget humming. She's right. It's sealed with magic, but Finn left a trace. The scanner showed a path to a deep-sea cave, marked with a bubble spring symbol. SpongeBob's eyes widened. That's where the orb's going. To the real spring. Squidward groaned, picking up Lila. Another cave? I'm done with this nonsense. Lila's voice was faint. The spring's heart is there. If Finn's boss gets the orb, the bubbles are lost forever. SpongeBob's heart thumped. Then we're not giving up. But as they turned to follow the path, a soft clatter echoed. A small, glowing stone rolled from the crack, carved with a warning, the Shadows game is deeper than you know. SpongeBob shivered. Finn's boss wasn't just cunning. They were playing a bigger game. Sandy tucked the stone away. This is our clue, y'all. That cave's the next stop, but we gotta be ready for tricks. Coral nodded, her claws steady. I'll watch for Finn's traps. Patrick puffed out his chest. And I'll eat any snacks he drops. Squidward sighed, but his frown softened. SpongeBob clutched his wand, his hope burning. The bubbles were counting on them, and Finn's double game was about to meet its match. But what was the Shadow planning, and could they reach the cave before the orb was lost? What secrets hid in the deep-sea cave? And would Finn's boss outsmart them all? The deep-sea tunnel stretched before SpongeBob, Patrick, Lila, Coral, Squidward, and Sandy, its walls shimmering with faint bubble carvings that pulsed like distant stars. Sandy's scanner glowed, tracing Finn's path to a cave where the bubble spring's heart waited. The small, carved stone they'd found, etched with the Shadows game is deeper than you know, felt heavy in SpongeBob's pocket. Finn's boss was out there, plotting, and the orb Finn carried was the key to saving Bikini Bottom's bubbles. SpongeBob's heart thumped, but his sponge spirit burned bright. They were close, and no sneaky sea star would stop them. SpongeBob! Patrick called, tripping over a loose rock. This tunnel's darker than my rock house at midnight. Are we there yet? SpongeBob grinned, helping him up. Almost, Patrick. The cave's gotta be close. Coral swam beside them, her claws steady but her eyes wide. That stone's warning scares me, she whispered. What's the Shadows game? Sandy adjusted her scanner, her tail twitching. Whatever it is, we'll lasso it with science. Right, y'all? Squidward, holding a faintly glowing Lila, rolled his eyes. Science? I'd rather be painting in peace. Why am I stuck with you bubble-chasing lunatics? Lila's voice was soft, her glow dimmer than ever. The spring's heart is in that cave. If the orb reaches the shadow, the bubbles will fade forever. SpongeBob nodded, his pores prickling. Lila's secrets were heavier now, but her kind eyes kept his trust. "We'll get the orb, Lila," he said. "For the bubbles." The tunnel sloped downward, the water growing colder and the bubble carvings brighter. A soft whisper filled the air, like voices from a dream. SpongeBob paused, his wand raised. "Did you hear that?" Patrick tilted his head. "Sounds like my tummy after a Krabby Patty feast." Coral shivered, her shell paling. "It's the Cave of Whispers," she said. "I heard stories. It talks to those who enter." Squidward huffed. "Great! A chatty cave. Just what we need." The tunnel opened into a vast cavern, its walls glowing with swirling bubble patterns that seemed to move. The whispers grew louder, weaving tales of ancient bubble springs and shadowy thieves. In the center, a coral platform held a pedestal carved with fish shapes, but no orb. Finn had been here and gone. SpongeBob's heart sank. "We're too late." Sandy scanned the pedestal, her gadget beeping. "Not quite, SpongeBob. Finn's trace is fresh. He's still close." The whispers shifted, forming words. "Seekers of joy, beware the shadow's trick." SpongeBob spun around, his eyes wide. "Who's there?" The cave's glow pulsed, and a bubble carving on the wall lit up, showing a fish guarding a glowing spring. "The shadow steals what shines," the whispers said. "Only truth opens the way." Coral gasped, pointing to the pedestal. "It's a lock. Like the Meadows puzzle. We need to find the truth." SpongeBob studied the pedestal, its fish carvings glowing faintly. Some had bubbles, some didn't. "It's a pattern," he said, "like the tail. The spring's guarded by joy, but the shadow tricks." Sandy nodded, her scanner humming. The carvings match the whispers. "We gotta pick the fish that guards joy, not the shadow's fakes." Patrick poked a fish with a big bubble, grinning. "This one's happy." But the pedestal sparked, and the platform shook, dropping sand from the ceiling. Patrick yelped, hugging SpongeBob. "SpongeBob! I broke it!" Coral's claws clicked, her voice steady. "No, Patrick, it's a sequence." The whispers said truth. The fish with small bubbles, like little joys, must come first. SpongeBob's eyes lit up. "Coral, you're a cave whisperer. Let's try it." They pressed the fish in order, small bubble, medium, then a glowing one. The pedestal hummed, but a loud clank echoed, and a net of glowing threads shot up, trapping them. Squidward groaned, tangled in the net. "Not again. Can't you solve one puzzle without a trap?" Lila's glow flickered, her voice faint. "The cave tests truth. We're close." SpongeBob struggled, his heart racing. The net's threads pulsed with bubble shapes, mimicking the pedestal. "It's another lock," he said. "We need to finish the sequence." Coral pointed to a hidden fish carving on the net, its bubble tiny but bright. "That's the last one. Press it." SpongeBob stretched his squishy arm, pressing the carving. The net burst apart, and the pedestal slid open, revealing a hidden door carved with swirling bubbles. The whispers cheered, "Truth opens the way." A faint glow spilled from the door, and SpongeBob's heart leaped. "The orb's in there." But as they swam toward it, Finn's laugh echoed. "Too slow, bubble hunters." He darted from the shadows, the orb glowing in his grasp, and slipped through the door. SpongeBob shouted, "Finn! Stop! But the door began to close, its bubble carvings dimming. Sandy's scanner beeped wildly. That door's locking fast. We gotta move. Squidward sighed, grabbing Lila. This is why I hate adventures. He swam forward, his tentacles brushing a hidden carving on the door. It glowed, and the door paused, its bubbles sparkling. SpongeBob gasped. Squidward. You're a hero. Squidward smirked. Don't get used to it. They squeezed through, entering a smaller chamber where the walls pulsed with light. The whispers faded, replaced by a soft pop, like bubbles trying to break free. Finn was gone, but a glowing trail led to a tunnel marked with a spring symbol. SpongeBob clutched his wand, his hope flaring. We're catching up. Coral nodded, her claws steady. But Finn's boss is close. I feel it. Lila's glow flickered, her voice barely audible. The orb's power calls them. Hurry. As they followed the trail, a soft clatter echoed. A tiny bubble-shaped stone rolled from the tunnel, carved with a new warning, the shadow hides where light shines brightest. SpongeBob shivered, his mind racing. Was the shadow Finn's boss? And where was the brightest light? Sandy tucked the stone away, her eyes sharp. This cave's full of riddles, but we're tougher than a barnacle. Patrick puffed out his chest. Yeah. Team Bubble's unstoppable. But as they swam deeper, the tunnel's glow brightened, and a shadowy figure flickered ahead, bigger than Finn's spiky shape. The pops grew louder, desperate. SpongeBob's heart thumped. The orb was close, but so was the shadow. Could they reach Finn before his boss took the orb for good? And what truth did the cave still hide? What was waiting in the glowing tunnel? And would the shadow's trick strike first? The glowing tunnel pulsed with light as SpongeBob, Patrick, Lila, Coral, Squidward, and Sandy chased Finn's trail, the bubble springs orb glowing in his spiky grasp somewhere ahead. The Cave of Whispers' eerie hum lingered in SpongeBob's ears, and the carved warning, the shadow hides where light shines brightest, weighed on his squishy heart. The desperate pops of trapped bubbles echoed faintly, urging them forward. Finn's boss, the shadowy figure, was close, and the orb's power was slipping away. SpongeBob clutched his bubble wand, his sponge spirit flickering but determined. SpongeBob. Patrick called, waddling to keep up. This tunnel's brighter than a Krabby Patty grill. Are we close to Finn? SpongeBob nodded, his eyes fixed on the glowing trail. We have to be, Patrick. That orb's the key to the bubbles. Coral swam beside him, her claws steady but her voice soft. The shadow's hiding where it's brightest. That's scary, right? Sandy adjusted her scanner, her tail twitching. Scary or not, we'll find that sea star. Science don't quit. Squidward, cradling a faintly glowing Lila, groaned. Science? I'm only here because you dragged me into this bubble nonsense. When do we go home? Lila's voice was weak, her glow dimmer than ever. The orb holds the spring's heart. Without it, the bubbles fade, and so do I. SpongeBob's pores prickled. Lila's fading? He wanted to ask more, but her tired eyes stopped him. We'll save you, Lila, he said, his voice firm. And the bubbles too. The tunnel widened, its walls shimmering with bubble carvings that pulsed like heartbeats. The pops grew louder, mixed with a soft, sad hum. The trail led to a glowing arch, its coral frame carved with fish and bubbles that seemed to dance. Beyond it, a chamber sparkled, its floor covered in shimmering sand. In the center stood a coral pedestal, but no orb. Finn had slipped through again. SpongeBob's heart sank. He's always one step ahead. Sandy's scanner beeped, pointing to a narrow tunnel beyond the pedestal. Finn's trail's hot, y'all. He's close. Coral pointed to the pedestal, her eyes wide. Look! It's got bubble shapes, like a lock. SpongeBob studied it, his sponge brain buzzing. It's another puzzle. The tail said the spring needs joy. Maybe this opens the way to the orb. Squidward huffed, setting Lila down. Another puzzle? You'll trap us again, like every time. Before they could start, the chamber's glow flickered, and a soft voice echoed. Seekers of light, prove your heart. The bubble carvings on the pedestal lit up, some glowing, some dark. Patrick poked one, grinning. Looks like my bubble-blowing tricks. But the pedestal sparked, and glowing vines shot from the floor, curling toward them. Patrick yelped, hugging SpongeBob. SpongeBob! It's Matt! Coral's claws clicked, her voice steady. It's testing us, like the cave. We need the joyful bubbles. SpongeBob's eyes darted to Lila, who wobbled weakly. Lila, what's a joyful bubble? Her tentacles curled, her voice faint. Small ones, full of little happiness. Like a laugh or a friend's smile. SpongeBob's heart twinged. Little happiness? He'd been so focused on saving the bubbles, he'd forgotten why they mattered. His smile faltered. What if I'm not joyful enough? What if I fail? Coral stepped closer, her shell blushing. SpongeBob, you make everyone happy. You're the most joyful sponge I know. Her words warmed his pores, and he grinned. Thanks, Coral. Let's find those small bubbles. They pressed the smallest carvings, each one glowing brighter. The vines paused, then retreated, and the pedestal hummed, revealing a hidden slot. A tiny bubble-shaped stone slid out, carved with a fish guarding a spring. SpongeBob gasped. It's like the tail. The spring's close. But as he grabbed it, the chamber shook, and Finn's laugh echoed. Too late, bubble hunters. Finn darted from the tunnel, the orb glowing in his grasp. My boss is waiting, and this orb's theirs. He tossed a glowing stone, and the arch's carvings flashed, sealing the tunnel with a net of threads. SpongeBob shouted, Finn! Stop! But Finn slipped through a crack, the orb's light fading. Sandy's scanner beeped wildly. That net's magic, but I can crack it. She waved her gadget, loosening the threads, but the net held. SpongeBob's shoulders slumped, his wand drooping. We're so close, but Finn's always faster. What if I'm not good enough to save the bubbles? Patrick patted his back, leaving a sandy smudge. SpongeBob, you're the best bubble saver ever. Don't give up. Coral nodded, her claws trembling but her voice brave. You helped me be brave, SpongeBob. We'll get the orb together. Squidward sighed, his frown softening. You're annoying, but you don't quit. That's something. Their words lifted SpongeBob's spirit, and he stood taller. You're right. The bubbles need us, and we're a team. He turned to the net, its threads pulsing with bubble shapes. It's another puzzle. Let's solve it. Coral pointed to a small bubble carving. Start there, like the pedestal. They pressed the small bubbles in order, and the net shimmered, then burst apart in a shower of sparkles. The tunnel opened, its glow brighter than ever. Sandy's scanner pointed ahead. Finn's trail leads to a deep cave. That's the spring's heart. Lila's glow flickered, her voice barely audible. The orb's power is strongest there. The shadow will fight for it. SpongeBob nodded, his determination blazing. Then we'll fight with joy. But as they swam forward, a soft clatter echoed. A tiny shell rolled from the tunnel, carved with a new warning: the light blinds, but the heart sees. SpongeBob shivered. The shadow was hiding in the brightest light, just like the cave said. Coral clutched her claws. That means the shadow's in the cave. Sandy tucked the shell away, her eyes sharp. We'll be ready, y'all. That shadow's got no chance against us. Patrick puffed out his chest. Yeah. We're tougher than a barnacle sandwich. Squidward groaned, but he swam closer, holding Lila gently. SpongeBob clutched his wand, his hope burning. The orb was close, but so was the shadow's game. As they entered the tunnel, the glow intensified, and a shadowy figure flickered ahead, its eyes glinting. The pops grew louder, desperate, and a faint hum shook the walls. SpongeBob's heart thumped. The spring was near, but Finn's boss was waiting. Could they reach the orb before the shadow's trap closed? And what secret was the light hiding? What was lurking in the brightest light? And would SpongeBob's joy be enough to win? The glowing tunnel shimmered with an almost blinding light as SpongeBob, Patrick, Lila, Coral, Squidward, and Sandy raced after Finn, his spiky shape barely visible ahead with the bubble spring's orb pulsing in his grasp. The warning from the tiny shell, the light blinds, but the heart sees, echoed in SpongeBob's mind, mingling with the desperate pops of trapped bubbles. The shadow, Finn's mysterious boss, was hiding in this bright glow, and the deep-sea cave holding the spring's heart was close. SpongeBob's sponge heart thumped, but his determination burned brighter than the tunnel's light. SpongeBob! Patrick panted, his flippers flopping. This place is shinier than a polished clown. How do we catch Finn? SpongeBob clutched his bubble wand, his eyes squinting against the glow. We'll follow his trail, Patrick. The orb's too important to lose. Coral swam close, her claws steady but her voice shaky. The shadow's in the light, she whispered. What if it's watching us? Sandy waved her scanner, its beeps cutting through the hum. Then we'll spot it first, Coral. Science sees through tricks. Squidward, cradling a faintly glowing Lila, grumbled. Science? I'm only here because you dragged me into this glowing nightmare. When do I get a nap? Lila's voice was barely a whisper, her glow dimmer than ever. The orb is the spring's heart. If the shadow claims it, the bubbles are gone, and I... She trailed off, her tentacles drooping. SpongeBob's pores prickled. Lila was fading fast, and her secrets were heavier than ever. We'll save you, Lila, he said, his voice firm. Team Bubble never gives up. The tunnel's walls pulsed with bubble carvings, their light so bright it cast no shadows. The pops grew louder, like a song begging to be free. Sandy's scanner beeped wildly, pointing to a glowing arch ahead, its coral frame carved with swirling fish and bubbles. That's the cave's entrance, she said. Finn's trail's hot. Coral gasped, pointing to a net of glittering threads blocking the arch. Another trap. It's got bubble patterns, like the ship. SpongeBob nodded, his sponge brain buzzing. Finn's slowing us down, but we're smarter. Patrick poked the net, grinning. Looks like my bubble blowing dance. Swirl, pop, spin. But the net sparked, and glowing vines shot from the floor, curling toward them. Patrick yelped, hugging SpongeBob. SpongeBob! It's alive! Squidward groaned, dodging a vine. Can't you touch anything without setting off a trap? Coral's eyes narrowed, scanning the net. The bubbles are in a heart shape. Maybe it's about joy, like Lila said. SpongeBob's heart leaped. Coral, you're a genius. Let's try a heart pattern. They pressed the bubble carvings in a heart shape, starting with the smallest. The net hummed, the vines pausing, but a loud snap echoed, and the threads tightened. SpongeBob's smile faltered. We're missing something. Lila wobbled, her voice faint. The heart sees, not the eyes. Choose the bubbles that feel joyful. SpongeBob closed his eyes, thinking of bubble parties with Patrick, Coral's shy smiles, even Squidward's grumbly help. He pressed a tiny, sparkling bubble, then another, following his heart. The net burst apart in a shower of sparkles, and the arch opened, revealing a vast cave where bubbles floated in glowing streams, their pops soft but sad. Finn stood on a coral ledge, tossing the orb between his spiky arms. Nice try, bubble hunters! He taunted. My boss is waiting, and this orb's their prize. He darted toward a glowing pool in the cave's center, its surface rippling with light. SpongeBob shouted, Finn! Stop! But Finn tossed a stone, and glowing nets shot up, blocking their path. Sandy's scanner beeped, and she dodged a net. That sea star's got more tricks than a rodeo clown. Her gadget sparked, loosening a net, but more sprang up. SpongeBob's heart raced. They were so close. He stretched his squishy arm, grabbing a loose thread, but a vine snagged his wand. No! He gasped, pulling free, but the nets tightened. Patrick flopped onto the sand, frowning. SpongeBob, we're stuck like jelly in a jar. Coral's claws trembled, but she pointed to the pool. The orb's glow is strongest there. We have to reach it. Squidward, holding Lila, sighed. This is why I avoid teamwork. He swatted a vine with a tentacle, clearing a path. Move, before I change my mind. SpongeBob grinned, his hope flaring. Thanks, Squidward. They pushed through, dodging nets, but Finn laughed from the ledge. You're too late. He held the orb over the pool, its light blending with the water's glow. My boss will love this. SpongeBob's heart sank. The pool was the spring's heart, and Finn was about to ruin it. Before Finn could act, a shadowy figure flickered behind him, its eyes glinting in the bright light. SpongeBob gasped. The shadow! It's here! Finn spun, his grin faltering. Boss? You're early. The figure vanished, and Finn stumbled, dropping the orb. It rolled toward the pool, teetering on the edge. SpongeBob shouted, Grab it! Sandy dove, her tail snagging the orb just before it fell. Got it! She cheered, tossing it to SpongeBob. Finn growled, tossing another stone. The nets flared, trapping Sandy and the others. You'll regret that. He snapped, darting into a tunnel. SpongeBob clutched the orb, its warmth filling his pores with joy. We've got it. But the nets tightened, and Lila's glow flickered wildly. SpongeBob, she whispered, the orb needs the spring to shine. Take it to the pool. SpongeBob nodded, dodging a vine, but the shadow's glint reappeared, closer now. The warning rang in his mind, the heart sees. He closed his eyes, feeling the orb's pulse. It was joy, like Lila said. He swam to the pool, nets sparking around him, and held the orb over the water. "Please, work," he whispered. The orb glowed brighter, and the pool rippled, bubbles rising in cheerful pops. The nets loosened, freeing the others, but the shadow's hum grew louder. SpongeBob's heart thumped. The spring was waking, but Finn's boss was coming. Coral gasped, pointing to a carved message on the pool's edge, "The shadow claims what shines alone." SpongeBob shivered. The shadow wanted the orb's light. Sandy tucked her scanner away, her eyes sharp. "We've got the orb, but Finn's boss is close. We need to move." Patrick puffed out his chest. "Let's bubble blast them." Squidward groaned, holding Lila gently. "Or we could leave before this gets worse." As they turned to go, a soft clatter echoed. A tiny bubble-shaped shell rolled from the tunnel Finn had fled into, carved with a new clue, "The Guardian's truth lights the way." SpongeBob's eyes widened. "Guardian?" He glanced at Lila, her glow steadying slightly. Was she the Guardian? And what truth was she hiding? The shadow's hum grew closer, and the cave's light pulsed wildly. The orb was safe, but the chase wasn't over. Could they protect the orb from the shadow? And what was Lila's truth? The deep-sea cave pulsed with light, the bubble springs pool shimmering as cheerful pops filled the air. SpongeBob clutched the glowing orb, its warmth spreading through his squishy pores like a hug from Bikini Bottom itself. The tiny shell's clue, "The Guardian's truth lights the way," nagged at his mind, and Lila's flickering glow felt heavier than ever. The shadow's hum, Finn's mysterious boss, echoed closer, and the carved warning, "The shadow claims what shines alone," made SpongeBob's heart thump. They had the orb, but the chase was far from over. "SpongeBob!" Patrick called, waving his flippers. "The bubbles are popping again. Did we win?" SpongeBob grinned, but his eyes stayed on Lila, cradled in Squidward's arms. "Not yet, Patrick. We've got the orb, but Finn's boss is coming, and Lila's fading." Coral swam close, her claws trembling but her voice brave. "The shell said a guardian's truth. Is that about the spring?" Sandy adjusted her scanner, its beep steady. "Reckon it's about Lila. She's been mighty quiet, ain't she?" Squidward groaned, his tentacles tightening around Lila. "Quiet? She's a jellyfish paperweight. Why am I stuck carrying her?" Lila's glow flickered, her voice soft but urgent. "SpongeBob, I must tell you something. The orb, it's tied to me. I'm the guardian of the spring's heart." SpongeBob's eyes widened, his wand drooping. "Lila! You're the guardian? Why didn't you say so?" Lila's tentacles curled, her glow dimming. "I was afraid. The shadow knows me, and I failed to protect the spring." The cave's light pulsed, and the bubbles' pops grew louder, like a song of hope. SpongeBob knelt beside Lila, his heart aching. "You didn't fail, Lila. You led us here. Tell us the truth. We're a team." Patrick nodded, patting Lila's tentacle and leaving a sandy smudge. "Yeah. Team Bubbles got your back." Coral smiled, her shell blushing. "You're brave, Lila. You can trust us." Even Squidward softened, muttering, "Just don't make me carry you forever." Lila's glow steadied, and she took a shaky breath. "Long ago, I was chosen to guard the bubble spring, a source of joy for the ocean. Its heart, the orb, keeps the bubbles alive. But a shadow, a creature who hoards light, tricked me. They stole the orb's power, trapping the bubbles. I've been searching for it, but I'm weak without the spring. When I found you, SpongeBob, I knew you could help. Your joy is stronger than any shadow. SpongeBob's pores tingled, his mind racing. The shadow was Finn's boss, the one hiding in the light. Lila, we'll get the orb back to the spring. But where's Finn going? Lila's voice trembled. The shadow's lair. It's a place of tricks, where light blinds. The orb will shine there, and the shadow will claim it. Sandy's scanner beeped, pointing to a glowing tunnel. That's where Finn's trail leads. We gotta move, y'all. The tunnel's walls shimmered with bubble carvings, their light so bright it stung SpongeBob's eyes. The pops grew desperate, and the shadow's hum shook the floor. Coral pointed to a carved fish on the wall, its bubble glowing. It's like the cave's puzzles. Maybe it's a lock. SpongeBob nodded, clutching the orb. Let's try it. He pressed the bubble, but a net of glowing threads shot up, trapping them. Patrick yelped, flopping against the net. SpongeBob. Not again. Squidward groaned, setting Lila down. Every tunnel, every time. Can't you solve one puzzle without a trap? Sandy waved her scanner, loosening a thread. This net's got a heart pattern, like the spring. Press the joyful bubbles. SpongeBob closed his eyes, thinking of Lila's courage, Patrick's goofy grin, Coral's bravery. He pressed the smallest bubbles, their glow warm and bright. The net hummed, then burst apart, freeing them. Coral cheered, her claws clicking. We did it! The tunnel opened into a glowing chamber, its walls pulsing with light so intense it felt alive. Finn stood on a coral platform, the orb glowing in his grasp. Gotcha, bubble hunters! He taunted. My boss is close, and this orb's theirs. He tossed a stone, and glowing vines shot from the floor, curling toward the group. Sandy Dove, her gadget sparking. Dodge, y'all! She knocked a vine away, but more sprang up. SpongeBob clutched the orb, dodging a vine. Finn! Why help the shadow? The bubbles are for everyone. Finn's grin faltered, his spiky tail twitching. Everyone? The shadow promised me light, more than any bubble. He shook his head, tossing another stone. The vines tightened, but Coral pointed to a carved bubble on the platform. It's a lock. Like Lila's truth. SpongeBob nodded, his heart racing. He stretched his squishy arm, pressing the bubble. The vines paused, and the platform glowed, but Finn darted into a tunnel, the orb's light fading. SpongeBob's shoulders slumped. He's gone again. Patrick patted his back. Don't worry, SpongeBob. We've got the real orb. Lila's glow flared briefly. The spring's heart is safe, but the shadow's lair is near. Finn's taking a fake orb to trick his boss. SpongeBob's eyes widened. A fake? Then we've got a chance. Sandy's scanner beeped, pointing to the tunnel. The lair's that way. Let's wrangle that shadow. As they swam forward, a soft clatter echoed. A tiny bubble-shaped stone rolled from the tunnel, carved with a new clue, the shadow's heart is cold, but joy melts it. SpongeBob shivered, his mind racing. The shadow wasn't just tricky, it was lonely. Could they use joy to stop it? Coral clutched her claws, her voice brave. We'll face the lair together. Patrick puffed out his chest. Yeah. We're bubblier than a bubble bath. Squidward sighed, holding Lila gently. This better be the last tunnel. The chamber's light pulsed, and the shadow's hum grew louder, shaking the walls. A faint glint flickered ahead, bigger than Finn's spiky shape. SpongeBob clutched the orb, his hope burning. Lila's truth had lit the way, but the shadow's lair was waiting. Could they outsmart Finn's boss and save the bubbles for good? What was hiding in the shadow's lair? And would joy be enough to stop it? The glowing tunnel shimmered with blinding light as SpongeBob, Patrick, Lila, Coral, Squidward, and Sandy swam toward the shadow's lair, the true orb of the Bubble Spring's heart pulsing warmly in SpongeBob's hands. The tiny stone's clue, "The shadow's heart is cold, but joy melts it," echoed in his mind, mingling with Lila's truth about being the spring's guardian. The desperate pops of trapped bubbles grew louder, urging them on. Finn was ahead, carrying a fake orb to trick his boss, but the shadow's hum shook the walls, closer than ever. SpongeBob's sponge heart thumped, but his joy burned bright. "SpongeBob!" Patrick called, squinting against the glow. "This place is brighter than a jellyfish party. Where's Finn?" SpongeBob clutched the orb, its light steadying him. "He's in the lair, Patrick, with his fake orb. We've got the real one." Coral swam close, her claws steady but her eyes wide. "The shadow's heart is cold," she whispered. "Can joy really stop it?" Sandy waved her scanner, its beeps sharp. "Reckon we'll find out, Coral. Joy's tougher than a Texas tornado." Squidward, holding a faintly glowing Lila, groaned. "Joy? I'm running out of patience, not joy. Why am I still here?" Lila's voice was soft, her glow brighter since her truth came out. "The shadow craves the orb's light, but your friendship can outshine it." SpongeBob nodded, his pores tingling. Lila's faith in them felt like a bubble pop of hope. "We'll show that shadow, Lila. Team Bubbles unstoppable." The tunnel opened into a vast chamber, its walls pulsing with light so intense it felt alive. Bubble carvings swirled across the coral, their pops muffled but hopeful. In the center stood a glowing pool, smaller than the spring but shimmering with trapped bubbles. Finn perched on a coral ledge, tossing his fake orb with a sly grin. "Took you long enough, bubble hunters," he taunted. "My boss is coming, and this orb's their ticket to power." SpongeBob shouted, "Finn! That's a fake. Give up." Finn's grin faltered, his spiky tail twitching. "Fake? You're bluffing." He tossed a glowing stone, and nets of glittering threads shot up, blocking the pool. Sandy's scanner sparked, loosening a net. "He's tricky, but we've got the real orb. Dodge, y'all." The group ducked, but the nets tightened, their bubble patterns glowing. Coral pointed to a carved fish on the net. "It's a puzzle, like the spring. Press the joyful bubbles." SpongeBob nodded, his heart racing. "Let's do it." They pressed the smallest bubble carvings, their glow warm and bright. The nets hummed, loosening, but a loud hum shook the chamber, and a shadowy figure emerged from the light, its form massive and rippling like dark water. Its eyes glinted, cold and hungry. Finn gasped, stumbling back. "Boss! You're here." The shadow's voice was a low rumble. "The orb, Finn. Now." Finn clutched his fake orb, his voice shaky. "Right here, boss." But his eyes darted to SpongeBob, who held the real orb tight. SpongeBob's heart thumped. "That's the shadow. He's the thief." Patrick hugged SpongeBob, whispering, "SpongeBob, he's scarier than a no-patty day." Coral stepped forward, her claws trembling but her voice brave. "We've got the real orb. You can't take our bubbles." The shadow's eyes narrowed, and the nets flared, trapping Sandy, Squidward, and Patrick. Lila floated free, her glow flaring. "SpongeBob, protect the orb!" she cried. SpongeBob dodged a vine, the orb pulsing in his hands. The clue said joy melts the shadow's heart. He closed his eyes, thinking of bubble parties, Coral's courage, Patrick's goofy laughs. "Finn!" he called. "You don't need the shadow. Join us. Bubbles are for sharing." Finn's grin wavered, his spiky arms trembling. "Sharing? The shadow promised me light, but it's so cold." The shadow rumbled, "Foolish star. Give me the orb." Finn tossed his ascot, and the nets snapped, freeing the others. The shadow lunged, but Coral dove forward, her claws slashing a vine. "Go, SpongeBob!" she shouted. SpongeBob swam to the pool, the orb glowing brighter. The shadow's hum grew deafening, its form rippling. "You cannot win," the shadow growled. SpongeBob held the orb over the pool, its light blending with the water. "For Bikini Bottom," he whispered. The pool flared, bubbles rising in cheerful pops, and the nets burst apart. The shadow roared, its form shrinking in the light. Finn stared, his eyes wide. You're right." He stepped back, dropping his fake orb. "I'm done, boss." The shadow hissed, retreating into the light. "This isn't over." It rumbled, vanishing. The bubbles popped freely, their song filling the chamber. SpongeBob cheered, hugging Finn. "You did it, Finn. You're a bubble hero." Finn blushed, his spiky tail wagging. "Guess I like sharing after all." Lila's glow steadied, her voice warm. "The spring's heart is safe. Thank you, friends." Sandy tucked her scanner away, grinning. "That's how we do it, Texas style." Patrick clapped, bunking Squidward. "We're the best team ever." Squidward groaned, but his frown softened. Coral smiled, her shell glowing. "We faced the shadow together." A soft clatter echoed, and a tiny bubble-shaped shell rolled from the pool, carved with a clue, "The lair holds one last secret." SpongeBob shivered, his mind racing. The shadow was gone, but was something else hiding? The bubbles were back, but the lair's light pulsed wildly. Could they uncover the final secret before it slipped away? What was the lair's last secret? And was the shadow truly gone? The shadow's lair shimmered with vibrant light, the bubble springs pool bubbling with joyful pops as SpongeBob, Patrick, Lila, Coral, Squidward, Sandy, and now Finn stood together. The orb, the heart of the spring, glowed warmly in SpongeBob's hands, its power restored to the pool. The shadow, Finn's cold-hearted boss, had fled into the blinding light, but the tiny shell's clue, "The lair holds one last secret," nagged at SpongeBob's squishy mind. The bubbles were back, but the lair's pulsing glow felt alive, hiding something more. SpongeBob's heart thumped, his sponge spirit ready for one final challenge. "SpongeBob!" Patrick cheered, twirling until he tripped. "We beat the shadow. Bubbles are popping. Time for a party." SpongeBob grinned, clutching the orb. "Almost, Patrick. But the shell says there's one last secret." Coral swam close, her claws steady but her eyes curious. "A secret? Is the shadow really gone?" Finn shuffled, his spiky tail wagging nervously. I don't know, Coral." My boss was sneaky. Maybe they left something behind. Sandy waved her scanner, it's beeped sharp. Reckon there's more to this lair, y'all. The energy's off the charts. Squidward, holding a brighter glowing Lila, groaned. More? I'm done with secrets. I want my clarinet and a nap. Lila's voice was stronger now, her glow steady. The spring is safe, but the lair's light hides a final trap. The shadow's heart may be cold, but it's clever. SpongeBob nodded, his pores tingling. Then we'll find that trap, Lila. Team Bubbles on it. The chamber's walls pulsed with bubble carvings, their pops louder and happier. A coral arch at the pool's edge glowed brighter, its frame carved with fish and bubbles that seemed to dance. Coral pointed to it, her shell blushing. That arch wasn't glowing before. Maybe it's the secret. Sandy's scanner beeped, pointing to the arch. She's right. There's a hidden chamber behind it. Finn's boss must have set a trap there. Finn nodded, his voice soft. I saw them working on something. Lots of nets and lights. SpongeBob led the group to the arch, the orb's glow guiding them. The carvings formed a puzzle, with bubble shapes in a swirling pattern. It's like the spring's lock. He said. We need to press the joyful bubbles. Patrick poked a big bubble, grinning. Like my bubble-blowing tricks. But the arch sparked, and glowing vines shot from the floor, curling toward them. Patrick yelped, hugging SpongeBob. SpongeBob! It's mad! Squidward groaned, dodging a vine. Every puzzle, every trap. Can't you learn? Coral's eyes narrowed, scanning the carvings. The bubbles are in a circle, like a hug. Maybe it's about teamwork. SpongeBob's heart leaped. Coral, you're a genius. Let's press them together. They each pressed a bubble, starting with the smallest, SpongeBob, Patrick, Coral, Finn, Sandy, Squidward, and Lila. The arch hummed, the vines pausing, and the carvings glowed brighter. The arch slid open, revealing a narrow tunnel pulsing with light so intense it felt like a heartbeat. The tunnel's walls shimmered with trapped bubbles, their pops muffled and sad. A soft hum, different from the shadows, filled the air. Finn shivered, his spiky arms trembling. This is the trap, he whispered. My boss called it the light snare. It catches anything that shines. SpongeBob clutched the orb, its warmth steadying him. Then we'll free it. Let's find that secret. Sandy's scanner beeped wildly. The energy's spiking. Something big's at the end. The tunnel opened into a small chamber, its walls covered in glowing nets that trapped thousands of bubbles, their pops barely audible. In the center stood a coral cage, pulsing with light, holding a single, massive bubble that shimmered like a star. SpongeBob gasped. That's the secret. It's a super bubble. Coral's eyes widened. It's so beautiful. But why trap it? Lila floated closer, her glow flaring. It's the spring's first bubble, the source of all others. The shadow wanted its light. Before they could move, the nets flared, and glowing threads shot out, wrapping around the group. SpongeBob dodged, clutching the orb, but the threads snagged Patrick, Coral, and Sandy. Squidward yelped, tangled with Lila. Finn ducked, his eyes wide. The light snare. It's automatic. SpongeBob's heart raced. The shadow was gone, but their trap was alive. He stretched his squishy arm, pressing a bubble carving on the cage. The nets hummed, loosening slightly, but more threads sprang up. Patrick wiggled, his voice muffled. SpongeBob. It's tighter than a clam's lunchbox. Coral's claws clicked, her voice brave. The carvings are like the arch. Press the joyful ones. SpongeBob nodded, his hope flaring. He pressed the smallest bubbles, thinking of his friends' smiles. The cage glowed, and the nets loosened, but a loud snap echoed, and the massive bubble quivered, its light dimming. Lila gasped. The trap's draining it. SpongeBob, use the orb. SpongeBob held the orb over the cage, its glow blending with the bubble's light. Please, work, he whispered. The orb pulsed, and the bubble flared, its pops loud and cheerful. The nets burst apart, freeing the group, and the cage opened, releasing the massive bubble. It floated up, sparkling like a dream, and the trapped bubbles joined it, their pops filling the chamber with joy. SpongeBob cheered, hugging Finn. We did it! The spring's free! Sandy grinned, tucking her scanner away. That's how we wrangle a trap, Texas style. Patrick clapped, bonking Squidward. Bubble party time! Squidward groaned, but his frown softened. Coral smiled, her shell glowing. We saved the first bubble. Lila's glow was bright now, her voice warm. The spring is whole again. Thank you, friends. Finn blushed, his spiky tail wagging. I helped, right? SpongeBob nodded. You're a hero, Finn. A soft clatter echoed, and a tiny bubble-shaped shell rolled from the cage, carved with a clue, the light holds one last test. SpongeBob shivered, his mind racing. The bubbles were free, but the lair's light pulsed wildly, and the shadow's hum lingered faintly. Was there one more trap? The massive bubble floated higher, its light revealing a hidden door in the chamber's wall. SpongeBob's heart thumped. The secret wasn't over, and the final test was waiting. What was the lair's last test? And could they face it before the light faded? The shadow's lair glowed with a joyful light, the massive first bubble floating above the coral cage, its cheerful pops blending with thousands of freed bubbles. SpongeBob held the orb, the bubble spring's heart, its warmth pulsing like Bikini Bottom's spirit. The tiny shell's clue, the light holds one last test, nagged at his squishy mind, and the hidden door in the chamber's wall shimmered, beckoning. The shadow was gone, but the lair's pulsing glow felt alive, hiding one final challenge. SpongeBob's heart thumped, his sponge spirit ready to face it with his friends. SpongeBob! Patrick cheered, spinning until he tripped. The bubbles are back. Can we party now? SpongeBob grinned, his eyes on the hidden door. Soon, Patrick. But the shell says there's one last test. Coral swam close, her claws steady but curious. A test? After all that? Finn nodded, his spiky tail wagging nervously. My boss was tricky. They might have left something to stop us. Sandy waved her scanner, its beeps sharp. Energy's spiking, y'all. That door's hiding something big. Squidward, standing beside a brightly glowing Lila, groaned. Another test? I'm done with this bubble-chasing nonsense. Lila's voice was warm, her glow strong. The spring is whole, but the shadow's trap may linger. Your joy can overcome it. SpongeBob nodded, his pores tingling. Lila's faith in them sparked hope. We'll pass that test, Lila. Team Bubble's tougher than a barnacle. Finn smiled, his eyes bright. I'm with you, SpongeBob. Let's finish this. The group approached the hidden door, its coral frame carved with bubble shapes that pulsed like heartbeats. Coral pointed to a puzzle on the door, its carvings forming a swirl of fish and bubbles. "It's like the spring's lock," she said. "Maybe it's about joy again." SpongeBob studied it, his sponge brain buzzing. The clue said the shadow's heart is cold, but joy melts it. "Let's press the happiest bubbles." Patrick poked a big bubble, grinning. "Like my bubble-blowing dance." But the door sparked, and glowing vines shot out, curling toward them. Patrick yelped, hugging SpongeBob. "SpongeBob! It's mad!" Squidward dodged a vine, groaning. "Every door, every trap. Can't you learn?" Sandy's scanner beeped, loosening a vine. "It's a heart pattern, y'all. Press the small bubbles first." SpongeBob closed his eyes, thinking of little joys, Patrick's laughs, Coral's courage, Finn's change of heart. He pressed the smallest bubbles, their glow warm. The vines paused, and the door hummed, but a loud snap echoed, and glowing nets flared, trapping the group. Coral's claws trembled, but her voice was brave. "We're close. Try the sparkling bubbles." SpongeBob stretched his squishy arm, pressing a sparkling carving. The nets loosened, but the door stayed shut. Lila floated closer, her glow flaring. "The shadow's heart needs more than bubbles. Show it kindness." SpongeBob's heart leaped. "Kindness?" He turned to Finn. "Finn, you helped us. That's kindness. Press a bubble with us." Finn blushed, his spiky arms trembling, and pressed a tiny bubble. The door glowed, and the nets burst apart, revealing a glowing chamber. The chamber was small, its walls pulsing with light and bubbles trapped in glowing threads. In the center stood a coral pedestal, holding a dark, cold stone that pulsed faintly, like a frozen heart. SpongeBob gasped. "That's the shadow's heart. It's so sad." Coral's eyes widened. The clue said joy melts it. But how? Finn shivered, his voice soft. "My boss made that. They wanted all the light, but it made them lonely." SpongeBob's pores tingled. Lonely? Maybe the shadow just needed a friend. The pedestal sparked, and glowing vines shot out, curling toward the orb. SpongeBob dodged, clutching it tight. The bubbles' pops grew frantic, like a plea for help. Sandy's scanner beeped wildly. "That stone's draining the orb. We gotta shut it down." Squidward groaned, swatting a vine. "Why is it always vines?" Lila's glow flared. "SpongeBob, use the orb's joy. Show the heart kindness." SpongeBob nodded, his hope burning. He held the orb close, thinking of his friends, and spoke softly to the stone. "You don't need to be cold. Join our bubble party." The stone pulsed, its dark glow softening. The vines paused, and the bubbles' pops grew cheerful. SpongeBob smiled, his voice warm. "We're all friends here, even you." The orb flared, its light blending with the stones. The pedestal hummed, and the stone cracked, revealing a tiny, glowing bubble inside. It floated up, joining the others, and the nets burst, freeing the trapped bubbles. The chamber filled with joyful pops, like a Bikini Bottom celebration. SpongeBob cheered, hugging Finn. "We melted the shadow's heart." Finn grinned, his spiky tail wagging. "I guess kindness is pretty cool." Patrick clapped, bunking Squidward. "Bubble party time." Squidward groaned, but his frown softened. Coral smiled, her shell glowing. We did it together. Sandy tucked her scanner away, grinning. That's how we wrangle a heart, Texas style. Lila's glow was bright, her voice warm. The spring is free, and the shadow's trap is gone. A soft clatter echoed, and a tiny bubble-shaped shell rolled from the pedestal, carved with a clue, one last trap guards the way home. SpongeBob shivered, his mind racing. The bubbles were free, and the shadow's heart was melted, but the lair's light pulsed wildly. Was there one final challenge? The freed bubbles floated toward a glowing tunnel, its light softer now. SpongeBob's heart thumped. The test was over, but the way home wasn't clear. Sandy pointed to the tunnel. That's our exit, y'all. But the energy's still high. Coral nodded, her claws steady. We'll face it together. Patrick puffed out his chest. Yeah. We're bubblier than a bubble bath. Squidward sighed, but he swam closer, holding Lila gently. Finn smiled, his eyes bright. I'm ready, SpongeBob. SpongeBob clutched the orb, his hope burning. The bubbles were safe, but the final trap was waiting. Could they make it home before it struck? What was the last trap? And would the bubbles shine forever? The shadow's lair sparkled with joyful light, bubbles popping like laughter as they floated freely from the melted heart of the shadow's trap. SpongeBob held the orb, the bubble spring's heart, its glow warm and steady, a piece of Bikini Bottom's spirit in his hands. The tiny shell's clue, one last trap guards the way home, echoed in his squishy mind, and the glowing tunnel ahead pulsed softly, promising a path back but hiding one final challenge. SpongeBob's heart thumped, his sponge spirit blazing with hope alongside Patrick, Lila, Coral, Squidward, Sandy, and Finn. SpongeBob! Patrick cheered, bouncing until he tripped. The bubbles are popping. Are we home yet? SpongeBob grinned, his eyes on the tunnel. Almost, Patrick. But there's one last trap. Coral swam close, her claws steady and her voice brave. A trap? After all we've done? Finn nodded, his spiky tail wagging. My boss was sneaky. They'd leave something to stop us. Sandy waved her scanner, its beeps sharp. Energy's still high, y'all. That tunnel's got a surprise. Squidward, standing beside a brightly glowing Lila, groaned. Another trap? I'm done with this bubble nonsense. I want my tiki house. Lila's voice was warm, her glow strong. The spring is whole, but the shadow's final trick may test your hearts. Stay together. SpongeBob nodded, his pores tingling. Lila's words felt like a bubble pop of courage. We'll face it, Lila. Team Bubble's the best. Finn smiled, his eyes bright. I'm ready, SpongeBob. Let's go home. The group swam into the tunnel, its walls shimmering with bubble carvings that pulsed like a gentle song. The pops of freed bubbles followed them, cheerful and light. The tunnel twisted upward, the water warmer, as if Bikini Bottom was calling. Coral pointed to a carved fish on the wall, its bubble glowing. It's like the lair's puzzles. Maybe it's the trap. SpongeBob studied it, his sponge brain buzzing. The clue said it guards the way home. Let's be careful. Before they could touch it, the tunnel's glow flared, and a soft voice echoed. Seekers of joy, prove your bond. A coral arch appeared, its frame covered in bubble carvings that formed a heart pattern. Sandy's scanner beeped. It's a lock, y'all. Gotta solve it to get through. Patrick poked a big bubble, grinning. Like my bubble dance. But the arch sparked, and glowing nets shot out, curling toward them. Patrick yelped, hugging SpongeBob. SpongeBob! It's Matt! Squidward dodged a net, groaning. Every puzzle, every trap. Can't you stop poking things? Coral's eyes narrowed, scanning the carvings. The bubbles are in a heart, like the shadow's trap. It's about our bond. SpongeBob's heart leaped. Coral, you're a genius. Let's press them together, like a team. They each pressed a bubble, SpongeBob, Patrick, Coral, Finn, Sandy, Squidward, and Lila. The arch hummed, the nets pausing, but a loud snap echoed, and the carvings flashed red, tightening the nets. Coral's claws trembled, but her voice was brave. We're close. The smallest bubbles first, like little joys. SpongeBob nodded, thinking of their adventure, Patrick's goofy laughs, Coral's courage, Finn's change of heart, Lila's truth, Sandy's smarts, even Squidward's grumbly help. He pressed the smallest bubble, then Patrick, then Coral, each friend adding their touch. The nets loosened, but the arch stayed shut. Lila floated closer, her glow flaring. It needs all our hearts. Finn, you too. Finn blushed, his spiky arms trembling. Me? I was with the shadow. SpongeBob squeezed his hand. You're with us now, Finn. Press it. Finn pressed a tiny bubble, and the arch glowed, the nets bursting apart in a shower of sparkles. The arch opened, revealing a wide chamber where bubbles floated in glowing streams, their pops loud and happy. In the center stood a coral gate, pulsing with light, the way home to Bikini Bottom. SpongeBob cheered, hugging Finn. We did it! The trap's gone. But the chamber's glow flickered, and a soft hum shook the floor, different from the shadows. A massive net of glittering threads rose, blocking the gate, its bubble patterns swirling wildly. Sandy's scanner sparked. That's the last trap. It's got more energy than a rodeo. Coral gasped, her shell paling. It's huge. How do we solve it? Squidward groaned, his tentacles drooping. I knew this was too easy. SpongeBob clutched the orb, its warmth steadying him. The trap tests our bond. Let's use everyone's strength. He stretched his squishy arm, pressing a small bubble. Patrick poked a big one, giggling. Like a Krabby Patty stack. Coral pressed a sparkling bubble, her claws steady. For bravery. Finn added a glowing one, his tail wagging. For sharing. Sandy pressed two at once, grinning. Texas teamwork. Squidward sighed, pressing a bubble. For peace and quiet, hopefully. Lila's glow flared as she pressed the last, whispering, for joy. The net hummed, its threads glowing brighter, then burst apart in a cascade of sparkles. The gate glowed, and the bubbles surged through, their pops like a Bikini Bottom party. SpongeBob held the orb over the gate, its light blending with the bubbles. The spring's heart is home, he said. The gate opened, revealing a path to jellyfish fields, the ocean sparkling under the sun. The group cheered, their voices echoing. Patrick clapped, bonking Squidward. We're heroes. Squidward groaned, but his frown softened. Coral smiled, her shell glowing. We faced the trap together. Finn grinned, his eyes bright. I'm a bubble hero. Sandy tucked her scanner away, laughing. That's how we do it, y'all. Lila's glow was radiant, her voice warm. The bubbles are free, thanks to your bond. A soft clatter echoed, and a tiny bubble-shaped shell rolled from the gate, carved with a clue: a new light waits beyond. SpongeBob shivered, his mind racing. The bubbles were home, and the trap was gone, but the clue hinted at more. The gate's light pulsed softly, and a faint glow flickered in the distance, like another orb. SpongeBob's heart thumped. The adventure was ending, but something new was calling. Could they leave the lair with one last mystery unsolved? What was the new light? And would Bikini Bottom's bubbles shine forever? The glowing gate shimmered with joyful light, bubbles popping like a Bikini Bottom festival as they streamed into Jellyfish Fields, their cheerful song echoing through the ocean. SpongeBob held the orb, the bubble spring's heart, its glow warm and steady, a piece of their adventure's triumph. The tiny shell's clue, a new light waits beyond, sparkled in his squishy mind, and the faint glow in the distance, like another orb, tugged at his curiosity. The trap was gone, and the bubbles were home, but the hint of a new mystery lingered. SpongeBob's heart thumped, his sponge spirit soaring with his friends, Patrick, Lila, Coral, Squidward, Sandy, and Finn. SpongeBob! Patrick cheered, twirling until he flopped onto the sand. The bubbles are back. Party time! SpongeBob grinned, his eyes on the glowing path to Bikini Bottom. You bet, Patrick! But that clue about a new light, it's kinda exciting, right? Coral swam close, her claws steady and her shell glowing. A new light? Does that mean more adventures? Finn nodded, his spiky tail wagging. I'm in, SpongeBob. No more shadow stuff, just bubbles. Sandy tucked her scanner away, her tail twitching. Reckon there's always more to find, y'all. This ocean's full of surprises. Squidward groaned, brushing sand off his tentacles. Surprises? I want my tiki house, my clarinet, and no more traps. Lila floated beside him, her glow radiant. The spring is whole, and Bikini Bottom shines because of you. The new light is a gift, a promise of more joy. SpongeBob's pores tingled, her words like a bubble pop of hope. Thanks, Lila. Team Bubbles ready for anything. The group swam through Jellyfish Fields, the bubbles dancing around them like tiny stars. Jellyfish hummed, their glows soft and happy, guiding the way to Bikini Bottom. The coral houses sparkled under the sun, and the air buzzed with pops as bubbles floated above the Krusty Krab, the Chum Bucket, and SpongeBob's pineapple home. Townsfolk cheered, blowing bubbles that shimmered in the light. SpongeBob held the orb high, its glow blending with the bubbles. We did it! The bubbles are home! Mr. Krabs burst from the Krusty Krab, his claws waving. SpongeBob! You saved the bubbles! Business is boomin'! He tossed a Krabby Patty, which Patrick caught in his mouth, giggling. Tasty hero stuff! Mrs. Puff sailed by, her boat mobile trailing bubbles. Wonderful work, SpongeBob! Bikini Bottom sparkling again. Even Squidward smirked as a bubble popped on his nose, muttering, maybe it's not so bad. The group gathered in the town square, where a bubble festival was in full swing. Kids chased bubbles, their laughter echoing, and jellyfish lanterns glowed above. SpongeBob set the orb in a coral fountain, its light pulsing gently, keeping the spring's heart safe. Coral smiled, her voice brave. We faced nets, shadows, and traps, and we won. Finn blushed, his spiky arms wiggling. I was a bad guy, but you made me a hero. SpongeBob hugged him. You're Team Bubble now, Finn. Sandy grinned, tipping her helmet. That's how we wrangle a mystery, Texas style. Patrick clapped, bonking Squidward. Best adventure ever. Squidward groaned, but his eyes twinkled. Don't expect me to join every crazy quest. Lila floated high, her glow like a star. You showed the ocean what joy can do. Little happiness, like a bubble, lights up everything. SpongeBob nodded, his heart full. Little joys, like friends, make the biggest difference. As the festival bubbled on, SpongeBob climbed a coral stage, waving his wand. Friends of Bikini Bottom, he called. We saved the bubbles because we stuck together. Let's keep popping with joy. The crowd cheered, and bubbles filled the sky, sparkling like a rainbow. Patrick led a bubble-blowing contest, Coral taught kids to spot joyful bubbles, and Finn showed off his speedy spins, giggling. Even Squidward played a bubbly tune on his clarinet, earning claps. But as the sun dipped, SpongeBob noticed the faint glow in the distance, beyond jellyfish fields. The shell's clue, a new light waits beyond, whispered in his mind. He glanced at his friends, laughing and blowing bubbles. Was it another orb? A new spring? The glow pulsed softly, like a secret waiting. SpongeBob smiled, his sponge spirit curious but content. For now, Bikini Bottom was bubbling, and that was enough. Coral swam up, her shell glowing. SpongeBob, you see that glow, don't you? SpongeBob nodded, his grin wide. Yup, Coral. Maybe it's a new adventure. Want to check it out someday? Coral's claws clicked, her voice brave. With Team Bubble? Always. Patrick flopped over, munching a bubble-shaped cookie. Count me in. Finn zipped by, laughing. Me too. Sandy and Lila nodded, and Squidward sighed, muttering, only if I get a nap first. The festival ended with a burst of bubbles, their pops like a song of joy. SpongeBob stood with his friends, watching the glow fade into the ocean's horizon. The bubbles were home, the spring was whole, and Team Bubble was stronger than ever. But that new light promised more, a mystery for another day. For now, SpongeBob's heart bubbled with happiness, knowing little joys would always light the way. A soft clatter echoed, and a tiny bubble rolled from the fountain, sparkling with a faint, new glow. SpongeBob picked it up, its surface warm. He tucked it in his pocket, his smile bright. The adventure was over, but the ocean was full of wonders, and Team Bubble would be ready. What was the new light waiting beyond? And what bubbles would they chase next? Thank you for listening to these incredible stories. Our team would really appreciate it if you give us a like and comment. Your opinion is very important to us. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed.